Hello everyone, my name is Captain Bazzi, and welcome to Mass Effect 3 Multiplayer N7 Academy Part 1. In this new tutorial series, I'll be covering every aspect of Mass Effect 3 Multiplayer, from power combos, weapons, and character builds, to bronze, silver, gold, and platinum gameplay, with the goal to prepare players ranging from those who are just starting out to advanced players who want to step up their game. So, without further ado, why don't we get started with the basics? So as you can see here, I'm on the main multiplayer screen, and up top here is just the name of the current character that I'm using. So right now it's just a human male adept. These are the amount of credits or in-game currency that I currently have. Of course, this is the avatar of my character. And if I wanted to change my character, of course I would just click change character here, and I have a full list of the 6 different classes in the game. So of course that's Adept all the way down to Vanguard, and within each of the different classes you have different characters, also called kits in the community, that you can choose from to play as. So as you can see, within the Adept class I have all of these unlocked, and of course when you're just starting out you're not going to have all of these unlocked. You're just going to have these first ones, just the humans, for all the different classes available to you. And as you go along and you play the game and you get XP, so you can see XP is right there. You'll unlock these different characters through the store by purchasing character cards, and I'll head over to the store to show you the different packs you can buy in just a second. But first I just want to finish showing you the rest of what's on this screen here. So over here you can see level 20, and that is just the current level that this current class is on. And once you reach level 20, which is the highest you can reach with any of the classes, you can then promote your class and it will set it back to level 1. So if you're familiar with the prestige system in Call of Duty, work exactly the same way. So you just restart the class all over again. It takes you back to level 1, and you just have to level up again. So if you're wondering, what does that actually have to do with anything, I'll show you in just a second. Every single time that you promote one of your classes, it adds to your N7 score. And your N7 score doesn't technically actually have any difference in the game, doesn't really mean anything. It's really just a score that you have on your profile whenever you're in the lobby screen, so that any other players can see what your current N7 level is. And that really just serves as an indicator of how much you've accomplished in the game. And it's really not that important, to be honest. When I'm looking out for other players in the lobby, I'm not really too worried about their N7 score. There's a lot of players who just don't like to promote. Personally, I've already beaten all the challenges and everything, so I stopped promoting my characters a long time ago. My score would be a lot higher now, actually, if I had never stopped. But it resets all of the powers for each of your character kits, so it's a little bit of a hassle. In the beginning it's something you want to do, but you can decide if you want to keep doing that going forward. So this number here on the right just represents how many times you have promoted this particular class. So as you can see, I've done all these around 10 times, and then I decided to stop. Okay, so I'll move on to the next thing here. So of course if you want to start a match, you can do quick match, which takes you into just a current game that is currently being played. So if there's any slots open in a game that is public and currently being played, you can drop into that game. Or if you want to create your own match, you have the option to do either a private match, which allows you to make a game that's only open to you or you and people on your friends list. And of course I'm playing on the PC, so that would be people on my Origin friends list. Obviously if you're on Xbox or PlayStation, that'll be people on those respective friends lists. Here obviously you can choose which map you want to play. There's a whole bunch of different maps, and the difference between these maps and the ones that have this symbol is these are hazard maps, so you get more XP for clearing these rounds on these maps, and what makes them more difficult is the hazard. So on Firebase Glacier, for example, there's like this this blue like energy ball that goes around the map and sucks out your shields and your health. So it's a hazard that you have to watch out for and everything in the map, and it just makes it a little bit harder. There's a whole bunch of different hazards. Some of them don't really do anything except for impair your vision, like on Dagger. Reactor has a working reactor. You can press a button and fry the enemies inside, and also yourself or teammates, so you got to watch out for that. Ghost has acid rain that when it's coming down, it drains your shields. Giant is just dark. White is just really hard to see, and that's all of them. So with the enemies, of course, you have first you can do unknown, which is just random, and that gives you more XP. And of course you have Cerberus, Geth, Reapers, and Collectors. I'll get more into the these things like maps and enemies later once I start getting into the game, but those are just different options you can pick. And of course, lastly, you have the different challenges or difficulty levels, with bronze being the easiest, up to silver, gold, and then finally platinum. Okay, so moving on here, I'll do character last since that has other options in there. So just quickly showing you leaderboards. This just quick overview of where you stand against your friends and globally, and also in your country, with challenge score and N7 score. And I'll go to the store right after challenges here. So with challenges, of course, there's a whole bunch of different challenges, as you can see. Just whatever challenges you want to do. All these different types of challenges. These, whenever you complete any of these, this adds to your challenge score. And as I said earlier, I personally don't really look at the N7 score too much. What I really look at when I'm judging other players in the lobby is the challenge score. The challenge score and their manifest. In other words, how many challenge points they've accrued. So how many, that really gets to show you how many hours they've really put into the game, and if they have done the harder challenges like solo mastery, that really goes a long way in proving that they belong in the higher levels like gold or platinum. And but I would say even the most important is looking at their manifest. So that's their weapons and their build. If they have leveled up weapons, so levels weapons up all the way to X, and they have other gear that works well with that particular character kit that they're using, that's a better way to judge whether or not they're going to be an asset to your team or they're going to detract from your team. So talk a little bit more about that later, but you can see there's a whole bunch of different challenges here. I honestly really suggest that you go through and beat all the challenges, because doing so will when you're starting out in the beginning, it's really a major grind. To get level up all your weapons and get all the gear that you really need to play gold and platinum. You really need to do a ton of grinding, put a ton of hours into the game. I've personally played over 1,000 hours in the game with over 2,800 completed games, and with all of that experience, it was necessary. It's really, you really have to do that to be able to really learn the game and everything. So you can see, there's just general challenges, and of course also other ones that have to do with doing some other challenges against particular enemy races, and of course ones with all the different weapons. So using the shuriken, using locust, etc., etc. So yeah, I definitely suggest doing all of the challenges. It will help you to learn the game, and it will give you some motivation to grind and use all the different weapons. So it really is a good system, I think, to allow you to learn the game while giving you a carrot on the end of a stick to be able to grind. And also it gives you that challenge score, which gives you good reputation when you're in the lobby for party leaders who are looking, for guys who are either going to be leeches or, guys who are going to be assets to the team. Okay, so moving on here to the store. 1 second as this loads. You can see you have all these different types of packs to choose from that you can spend your credits on. So very quickly, how you earn credits: in every single game that you play, there are 3 rounds that are objective rounds. That's Wave 3, Wave 6, and Wave 10. On all 3 of those waves, you will have some couple different objectives that you can complete with your team, and you will earn credits according to how long it takes for you to complete the objective. So even if your team wipes and does not extract, you will still receive those credits no matter what. So it's very important, if you're on waves 3, 6, or 10, to do all you can. If you don't think that you're going to make it much longer, use up your equipment so that you can complete that objective so that you get the credits. That's absolutely essential when you're starting out in the beginning. As you go along later and you start playing gold and platinum, and you just have, it's really not too hard to win most of the time. You're not going to be struggling for credits, so it's not as big of a deal. But when you're first starting out, to put a lot of time into a game and then to die before you can finish an objective is a real it's an investment in your time, and you really want to get that those credits so that you can help to get better gear. And definitely pay attention to that. So very quickly, just going to go over a couple of these different packs. So when you're first starting out, of course, recruit packs are the cheapest ones at just 5,000 credits, and these are mainly what you're going to be buying. And these will help to replenish your consumables, and your consumables are your ops packs, your metagels, your thermal clips, and your Cobra missile launcher rounds. So when you're first starting out, you're only going to have 3, if I remember correctly, and you can upgrade those consumables up to carrying 6, and that's the highest you can carry. And you can only unlock those slots through buying packs in the store. And as far as I know, there isn't any particular pack that has those consumable unlocks in there. It's just something that as you're progressing through the game, all of these are random number generated. When you pick one, you'll just eventually unlock it as you go. So once again, unfortunately, the way this is designed, you don't have much control over what you're going to unlock. I really wish, and it's one of the main caveats of the multiplayer system, is that it's not like the single player, when you can just choose from the particular stores in the game exactly what you want to upgrade and what weapons you want to buy. But I'm sure BioWare had a very good reason for doing it this way, or who knows. This is the way that it is, so you just gotta deal with it. Like I said, it's a major grind, but the game is fun, so play those challenges to help you get through it. So as you get going later on, mainly the only packs you're ever going to buy are Premium Spectre packs, Arsenal packs, and Reserves packs, and those are all 99,000 credits. And my personal favorite is the Premium Spectre pack. Just in my experience, that's what always gave me the best gear. Sometimes I get the other ones just to mix it up, but mainly I only buy Premium Spectre packs once I have 99k credits. And if I just need to replenish my consumables, the best way to do that is absolutely through jumbo equipment packs. These are designed just to give you consumables, and these will give you 5 consumables for each of the different types of consumables. So when you get low on supplies, this is absolutely what you want to do. So if you have enough money to buy 99Ks, one of the 99K packs, like a premium Spectre pack, buy that first. And then if that didn't give you, like if you need ops packs, for example, you're low on ops packs, if you still have at least 33,000 credits left, then you can buy a jumbo equipment pack to replenish that, and then you can get back to the game. Okay, so that covers the store very briefly. So now I'm going to move on to the character screen, and of course you can see here these 4 different slots. I'm going to go over each one of these very briefly. So on the power screen on the left side, you have how much health your current character has, and the barrier or shield, depending on the character. And of course you have all of your power attributes here, which, if you're familiar with playing the single player campaign, these are powers that you just upgrade. And of course you can double click to open them up, and the first 3 slots don't have any other options, so of course you just fill those up. And then 4, 5, and 6 have A and B slots that you have to choose from. So I'm not going to go over too much about this right now, because it's really contextual, based on experience. So what I mean by that is, once you get going with the game and you start to see how each of the different characters play, you'll simply just know. You'll know what you need to really build out the kit that you want. So for example, if you use the human male adept enough, you'll know that for Singularity, you don't really need its duration to be a lot longer. What's really much more important is impact radius. So the difference between there is, duration would be how long the Singularity bubble stays on the field before it disappears, versus impact radius, which is just simply how large the Singularity is going to be able to suck up enemies a lot easier. So of course you have the different stats for each of these different powers at the bottom here, and you can see whenever you're choosing different ones, you can see how it will affect each of these different stats. As you get going further along in the game, you're not really going to need to look at these stats quite as much. Really, you can just look at how each of the different A and B choices, what their description is, and how those basic stats affect your character. Okay. So usually these first 3 slots here, well, always actually, these first 3 slots are going to be powers that you can use in your power bar in the game as you're playing, and these will be your types of projectile type powers, things like Singularity and Warp that you can throw out into the field and to use against enemies. And there will also be other ones for like engineers. They have turrets and drones, and also for particular characters they have different types of grenades. Some grenades, like the Turian Ghost Infiltrator, has a stim pack grenade, so he has that in the grenade slot, which you can replenish with ammo boxes or a thermoclip pack, and that will just change your stats, like instantly restore your shield, or depending on how you have that power spec'd out, it will just affect your character. And of course that's not actually a weapon that you use on an enemy, unlike something like a frag grenade. So once again, these are the 3 ones that are going to be like once you're playing the game, in the upper left hand corner here, that you can put keybinds to, so that you can use those out in the field. And then you have 4 and 5 here, Alliance Training, which depending on your character is always going to say something different. And this is really just has to do with speccing out your character's power damage, weapon damage, and strength. And this is typically one that, whenever you're creating your character build, a lot of times you can leave this last one empty depending on your build. It just, of course, depends on what you're doing. And fitness is, of course, has to do with your health, shields, barriers, melee damage, and durability. When you're starting out, I definitely suggest investing points into fitness to help you stay alive. It's a lot harder, of course, before you really know how to survive in the game. You really do, want to put points into fitness. I definitely suggest that. And of course, this is also something that's going to be called something different depending on the class. Like for Krogans, for example, this is going to say Rage. So they have a different thing that they can use for their health. They have like when they get like 3 melee kills in a row, or whatever. It will give them a health boost, and so different effects like that. Okay, so last thing on this is reset powers, and you can get different reset powers cards from the store. And what these power cards do, and the most you can have at any time is 3, is simply you use one and it clears all the powers so that you can redo them. You can respec your powers. Okay. All right, so let's move on here to weapons. Okay, so obviously, if you're familiar with the single-player campaign, you have 5 different slots: sniper rifles, assault rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, and heavy pistols. You can only use 2 of these slots at a time, and usually, if you're going to be playing a sniper rifle character, you're probably only going to need to use just a sniper rifle, maybe a sniper rifle and a sidearm, but if you're using something heavy like a javelin, probably only one sniper rifle. And just quickly show you which ones are available here. So as I mentioned earlier, each of these weapons can be upgraded up to level 10 or X here, and you can see, of course, the different attributes for each of these different weapons. And of course, if you click this, you can see some history or description about the weapons. And of course, you have your weapons mod slots, which you can also unlock in the store. And these include things like spare thermal clips and extended barrel, etc., etc. And you can see how each of these different mods affect your weapons. So you can instantly see that, okay, if I wanted extra thermal clip capacity here, you can see that this green is added on to the capacity slot, and that means that that's how it's affecting my particular weapon. Okay. So another thing I just want to mention very quickly here, it has to do with weapon weight. So you can see that there is a little indicator here of how much weapon weight is currently being used. And of course, if that bar is all the way filled up, that means that's the maximum weight that you can carry. So I'm going to remove this from here, and that was just a screen telling me I can't carry 3 weapons, of course. So now that I've removed that sniper rifle, you can see that my weight has changed. And since I'm just using the very lightweight N7 Hurricane and the Acolyte, my power recharge speed is now at plus 200%. And this is something that actually kind of confused me when I first started playing, because you have the weight here, and then you have this really high number for the recharge speed, which is a little bit confusing. So let me just explain this. So of course, the higher the weight that you have in your character, the slower the recharge speed, also called cooldown speed, is going to be for your powers. So for the human male adept, his powers include warp and shockwave and throw. So depending on how heavy the weight is, so the higher the weight, the slower that I'm going to be able to recharge my powers. So, the slower I'm going to be able to use, warp, for example, in between every single time that I use it. So it's going to have a slower cooldown speed depending on how heavy my weight is. So just to reiterate one more time, in order to have the fastest cooldown rate, or power recharge speed, you want this number to be as high as possible, and plus 200% is the highest it can be. So this means that my current loadout here is the most lightweight that it can be, and thus my cooldown, aka recharge speed, is the fastest that it can be. So that's extremely important to pay attention to when you're building out your kits. Of course, when you use heavier weapons, like shotguns or sniper rifles, your power recharge speed is going to be a lot heavier. So you need to make sure that you're using different equipment or speccing your powers in a way that allows you to still be able to access your powers in a way that is going to work for your flow when you're playing. All right. So that covers everything with weapons for now. I'll get much more in depth about which weapons are the best weapons to use in a later video. Okay, so very briefly, of course, your appearance means nothing, as far as gameplay goes. It's completely aesthetic. However, I do suggest building out your characters, because not only is it just fun, but it does have an impact, at least to me. When I'm playing with people, it's really funny, actually. I noticed that better players, more experienced players, tend to have more creative looking characters, creative and unique looking characters. And it's because they just, they spend more time on their characters. Of course, there isn't really any role playing going on in multiplayer, except for, what role you're basically playing on the team according to your class. But I do suggest, taking time to build out your characters when you have time. It just I don't know, it adds more character to your character, and makes you stand out on the field, and I don't know, it makes you look more experienced. I don't know, I think it just adds more fun to the experience. So I definitely suggest doing that. And just a quick note on this, I'm not exactly sure what it is that unlocks these other options, but when you're first starting out, you're not going to have some of these options available to you in appearance. I don't know if it's completing challenges or XP or the level of your class or whatever, but you'll notice that when you're first starting out, some of these options are not going to be available. Don't sweat it. You'll unlock them over time and can change them later. So yeah, that's all. And of course, it's always funny to give your characters funny names, so that when you make videos like me, people can laugh at how goofy those names are. Totally kidding. Okay, so the last thing here is, of course, equipment. So once again, as I mentioned before, with your consumables, you have 4 different types of consumables. Your Cobra missile launcher is just another auxiliary weapon that you can use just to wipe out any of the enemies that you shoot it out. So this is really helpful if your team is in serious danger of wiping out, or you need to clear an objective area, like if you're doing a hack and you have a bunch of bosses in the hack circle, and you don't want to get sync killed. You use your missile launchers to quickly clear it out. Or if you're doing a assassination objective and you want to kill all the targets really quickly, Cobra missile launcher is what you want to use. So there is a particular radius, for the missile launcher that you want to shoot. You typically always want to shoot it at the ground or at a wall. You don't really want to shoot it and you want to use missile launchers sparingly. So, don't just every time you see an enemy, a boss, just use it. You want to just be smart, use tactics, and save your missiles for only when you need to use them. And especially when you're starting out, your supplies are going to be a lot more scarce. You really want to save them for really only when you need them. As you're going forward, when you get up to gold and plat, and you're really good at the game, you're not really going to need to be using missiles as much. It's really going to be more so to help speed the game along, a lot more than actually needing it to survive. However, things happen. Games can go downhill very quickly. So it's always good to have those handy. So of course your Medi-gel, whenever you actually go down, so you're lying, your health completely gets drained out, and you're lying on the ground, and you have the indicator that's telling you you need to smash a button, whatever your button is. Usually it's spacebar, in order to be revived. You can just use a Medi-gel instead, and that will instantly revive your character so you can keep on playing. So that's another thing. Of course, you want to use sparingly, depending on who you're playing with. If you're playing with random people, you may not be able to trust them to be able to help you. And as you get more experience, you'll just get a knack for knowing if you're going to be revived or not, and when to use Medi-gel and when not to. So with Op Survival Packs, these, at least for me, are always the consumable that I use the most. As you can clearly see, I am heavily stocked in all the other ones and will never run out. Whereas Op Survival Packs, I am constantly, always having to, buy them in the store using, something like a Jumbo Equipment Pack if I don't get it in the Premium Spectre or the other 99K ones. This is, I gotta assume this is probably for everyone else too, that these are the most heavily used consumable, and usually in low stock that need to be replenished all the time. If not, that's great. For me, this is always the way it is. But Op Survival Packs are just used to instantly restore your shields or barriers, and those also you should just really use them if you're definitely about to go down, or it's really important, like you're doing you're carrying an object that you need to deliver for one of the objectives, and you're getting hit hard and you really need to stay alive, then yeah, you want to use an Op Survival Pack to instantly replenish your shield. Once again, that's just something that you'll learn how to use over time in the most efficient way. Lastly here is Thermoclip Packs, and these are by far the consumable that you will be using the least, because there's of course ammo crates all around every single map, and especially on bronze and silver, the ammo crates give you a lot more ammo. They completely replenish your ammo, whereas in gold and platinum, the ammo crates give you a lot less ammo and are a lot more scarce, and you have to that's one of the little meta games in Mass Effect multiplayer, is having to use your ammo sparingly, or build your kit in a way so that you will definitely have enough ammo and not necessarily always have to rely on crates. So like I said, you'll use these the least. I would say that with these, you can be a lot more loose with using them, because you're really never going to run out. I've never had a problem with it, and I doubt anyone else has ever had a problem with that either. So these indicators here, this is this number 6 here, this is just the current number that you have that you'd be going into a game with. So like I said, you start off with 3, and then you eventually unlock these slots so that you can carry 6, and 6 is the maximum. So right now this is telling me that with each of these 3 here, I'll be entering the next game I go into with a full 6 missile launchers, Medi-gels, and thermal clips. And of course I do have the all of these Op Survival packs unlocked, so I can carry up to 6. This is just showing 5, of course, because I only have 5, so I'll only be going into my next game with 5. I go to the store and I buy a pack, like a jumbo equipment pack, and that will give me 5 more Op Survival packs, and I'll be able to use 6, and this will say 6. Okay. So I think that is really about it. As for the general overview, for all the basic menus in multiplayer, in the next video, we'll actually get into the game and start playing, and I'll show you the different UI that you'll be using in multiplayer. I'll also go over the keybinds that I particularly use, which are different from the default keybinds. Of course, if you have already played the campaign and have keybinds that you like, then you can use those. But I feel like if someone just wants some suggestions, then it may be useful. So that's what I'll go over in the next game. Start going over the gameplay UI and more basic things about actually playing the game. So stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching. Captain Bazzi out.